Welcome to the third segment of Hudda Tonight. I'm your host for the rest of the evening, Arqam Rashid. In this segment, we will be speaking about a very interesting topic, which is the Muslims in the western province of China, also known as Xinjiang. Now, let's start off by introducing our wonderful guest for this segment here. On my right-hand side, I have with me Muhammad Ala, who is specialized in humanitarian relief. He has visited over 18 different Muslim countries, and he's currently studying his pre-masters in politics and economics. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, my brother?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you, Muhammad Ala?
Fine, alhamdulillah.
Next to him, we have Muhammad Salah, who is studying theology. He's interested in Islamic afflicted nations, and he's also enrolled in Al-Arqam Institute for Islamic Studies. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
It's so nice to be with you.
And it's wonderful to have you two on. This topic is very interesting because most people, or actually most Muslims, don't know about the Muslims in China. They don't know that there's a humongous population of Muslims in China. They think it's just, maybe a couple of thousand Muslims living in China, but that's contrary to the fact. Yeah. So let's start off by a little bit of an introduction, you can say, about this province and the Muslims there. If you can start us off, inshallah. Ala.
Okay. I think today, inshallah, we're going to talk about the most familiar and the most famous trademark made in China. All of us know that China have a base, a very kind country, but we don't know, as you told us, that there are Muslims have some problems there. We will highlight today the issue in the western of China, the Uyghurs, or Xinjiang, or Xinjiang. But the problem that the Muslims there, no one know about them. It's a hidden data or a masked data. At least I can tell you that in 1870, the population or the rank of the Muslim there, the population was, I think, 20 million. And in 2011, the Muslims also 20 million. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
That's meaning that no one can go there and know what is the real percentage of the Muslims. China is a country which is in Asia, and China is it's area starting from the middle of Asia to the east coast. The population of China is 1,400,000,000, or maybe more than that, because this is a percentage or the rank for 2011, I think, or 2012. The Muslims, as I told you, is unknown, but there are some indicators telling us that the Muslims is 20 million. That the meaning that the Muslim is representing almost 2% of China. And demography, the Muslims, the components of the Muslim tribes is Uyghur and Kazakh and Uzbek and Tajik and Hawaii and Tatar and the Salar and Dongcheng. The Uyghur and the Hawaii is representing 80-90%. But there are the big difference between these two tribes. The Hawaii is Sufiya, okay, and they are speaking the Chinese language, and they don't have a big problem with the Chinese government, because now the culture between both of them, I think there are no problem. Yeah, it's very familiar. But for the Uyghur, they are speaking almost the Turkish language, and we here catching the problem. I think now just I told you a very small hint about our issue. We are talking about Xinjiang, or the eastern of Turkestan.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. Xinjiang. Okay, Muhammad Salah, if I can come to you and you can just give us some sort of a overall history of Islam in this part of the world.
Okay, brilliant. At first, one can think that the Islam has a great history there at this country, but Islam was introduced there for the first time at the very beginning of Caliphate, Umayyad Caliphate, at the very beginning of the first Islamic century, by the conqueror Qutayba ibn Muslim, when he opened the Turkestan, and then the Islam followed the convoys and the missions to spread the Islam there by per-handed and peacefully missionary and convoys throughout the coast and the sea. So they helped in the supplement of the efforts to develop the Islam there without any sword. And here is the something surprised me. Hoi Chong is one of the historian. He said that one of the emperor for the empire of the China at the very beginning of the third the 13th centuries, he was a Muslim. However, he didn't disclose that he is a Muslim. He was a Muslim, and he wrote a lot of around 100 manuscripts speaking about the Islam and speaking about the instruction of Islam and the tradition of Islam. And he worked with his regime to bring a lot of families from India, from Iranian and the Arabian region, trying to make a settlement of the Muslim there. Not only that, around 30 successive empire mount the throne of China up till the middle of 17th century. Then the persecution happened upon the Muslims. One of the most horrible massacre happened within 1870 AD. It was committed upon the Muslims. Around 30,000 Muslims was killed. And transferring to the very beginning of the last century, the 20th century, the Muslims helped the Republican to announce the Republic and overcome the empire. And it was noticed by the first president. He said that without Muslim, we couldn't even overcome the empire.
Okay.
So it's kind of a brief about the history of Islam.
What's interesting is that mainland China, some people say that the first Muslims to go there, and actually the first masjid there is very old. And they say it's a couple of decades after the Prophet ﷺ, and some even say that one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ built that masjid. It's about a couple of hours away from Hong Kong, so it's mainland China. And that's something people don't know, that Islam has been present in China for such a long time, maybe 50 years or so, or even less after the Prophet ﷺ. Another thing, Muhammad, I want to ask you, have you visited the Muslim areas in China? Or
no,
those are not part of your 18 countries?
No, I didn't visit China. I just visited in this area, I visited Indonesia and Malaysia. But you know, for us, China is very common for all of the world.
Yeah.
But no one knows what is the politics of China.
Yeah.
No one can enter China and talk about its politics.
Yeah.
And I don't know why this happened. Maybe about USA, everyone know what's happening there. But in China, even the Facebook just entered nowadays. Yeah, you know that. Facebook just entered China nowadays, and the country or the government is very closed.
Yeah.
So it's harmful, and it's not easy for anyone to get any data. But our aim, inshallah, is talking about every Muslim in the world. For this reason, we are talking about China.
Yeah.
And I hope that the Chinese looking for their brothers in the humanity. We are talking from the Muslim point of view, but also from the humanity point of view, that there are peoples, there are humans.
Yeah.
It's not allowed for anyone to be killed on this world, even he's a Muslim or not a Muslim.
Of course.
That's all.
No, and in terms of oppression, I mean, the Chinese government is very oppressive towards Muslims. I remember last year in Ramadan, I gave a khutbah the second week of Ramadan, and in which I spoke about something that was on the news then, about Chinese Muslims, and it was that they were being force-fed during Ramadan. This is just last year, so this is not like 50 years ago or a long time ago, 18 something. This is last year. That in the second week of Ramadan, I remember it was on the news. After the first week had passed of Ramadan, in my sermon, I mentioned that everybody, we've been fasting here, and we had the privilege to fast. So not only in terms of we have good health, but in terms of we have the right to fast. Yes. Whereas Muslims in China that same week didn't have the right to fast. They were being force-fed if caught fasting, and some of the imams were actually force-fed. And obviously the coverage of news, like you said, is very different from China and the rest of the world. Let's speak about pre-modern Chinese history. So a little bit after World War II, what's the situation like after World War II in China?
Okay, Turkestan or east of Turkestan or Xinjiang joined communistic China in 1949. After the war directly, they joined them. But the Uyghurs, or the Muslims, or the humans, have demanded their freedom. Because, Xinjiang, it's meaning in the Chinese language, the new empire, or the new city. So even in China, they know that this city is just added recently.
I mean, originally it was part of the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah. It was a region of Turkestan. Turkestan is a very huge empire. It was Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and part of China and Mongolia also.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine this empire, it was very big and very huge. So it's a new city. So the people in Zhangyang, they made a revolution as they did previous in 1933 and 1944. And they have a revolution, a very known revolutions in 1990 and 1997 and 1999. In 1990, they did a revolution and it was very bad. There are hundreds of guys and the youngest, they die by this time. And in 1997, they was walking in the streets just for their right for fasting, as you was talking now. So the problem is not just in 2014 or 2015. You can imagine in 1997, they refused their fasting in the schools, in the masjid, in the street, even wearing hijab. And also by this time, they starting to transferring the Muslims or removing them from their place or from the region to another places or out of the country to minimize the percentage of the Muslims. So the percentage of the Muslim in Zhangyang, it was 90%, but now it's 70%. Some people can say the Muslim changed from Islam to another, and some people can say the truth, that they removed them and their houses from this place to another and put with different religions. I don't know what happened in China. China don't have any problem with any another religions. But I don't know why Islam especially have...
I mean, China has an issue with most religions, and I think it's because of communism. The way communism works is it tries to fight against religion and destroy religion, because communism itself is a type of religion. So, the reason why it has issues with Islam in particular is because Islam is prevalent in China, and there are many Muslims that try to follow their religion in China, and when this happens, this clashes with communism. So I think that's an issue as well.
Yes, and also the communism is it calling us to be godless? I don't know. Any government can force anyone to be Muslim or to be Christian or to be Jewish or to be godless. And this is what is Chinese talking about, and this is what is Chinese raising up this data, that we are giving the freedom for anyone to believe in God or don't believe in God. But I don't think that this is the truth. I don't think that what this is exactly what's happening.
Okay, if we can come to you, Muhammad Salah, that was a little bit of the situation, a little bit of the pre-modern history of China, or we can say after World War II and what happened. Can you tell us about this region and the situation now? What's it like in this region now from what we know?
Okay. First of all, I can say that the problem is rooted from the point of view of the Muslim there. It's a kind of absurding social problem. It's not only a kind of a religion. No, the Chinese has a problem. Chinese have the problem with the Muslim there, as they claim that the Muslim there are so terroristic. Okay, they are not fully integrated with the community, and they are seeking for separation from the empire or from the China. So it's the economic and the social problem fueled the restment of the crisis there. Let's start from the very beginning of the second millennium or the 20th. There is a lot of rights happened and committed against the authorities there, and a lot of Muslims killed by the police there. Transferring to the Olympic game when they're held in the 2008. The police killed around 200 people in the street. After the 2012, six Muslim guys tried to hijack a plane, but they overpowered it by the crew and the messenger. Later on, the 2013, another bloodshed, and around 31 guy killed by cold blood from the police, as they claim that a mod with knife, or a mod armed with knife, they attack the government building. Recently at 2014, we can say this is the catastrophe when the government there committed or restricted the Muslim to fast, to even to get out with a Muslim appearance, without beard, without scarf, and they are not allowed to work in the government. They are even not allowed to get the seed subsidized or the fertilizer subsidized. They are so interested, and the main thing for their covering life are the farming. So they didn't even have the chance to modernize and get the well-established equipment for farming. It's not only that, Akhi. When it comes to one of the fugitive or refugees, when he escaped from the China, trying to adopt another nationality like the Pakistani or whatever the nationality, Chinese or the Chinese regime, forced these countries to deport them again or to deport them back to the China, and they're gonna sentence to the jail and even up to executed. So it's a kind of how does what? A kind of unrest, a kind of rights, a persecution toward the minority in China nowadays. And the Muslim there thought that this rooted from economically stagnation and the economic crisis and from the social problem with the Chinese. The Chinese wanted them to get rid of their language, as Akhi Muhammad said, they used to speak the Turkish or another language than the Chinese. They would like them to get out or get rid from their conservation about Islam. They are so conservative. They dislike to be melt in the community there. They like to preserve their Islamic traditions. But however, the Chinese or the communism would like them to melt in the community, would like them to get rid of their Islamic traditions and preface. They would like them to speak like the Chinese, so that Akhi Muhammad mentioned about the two tribes of the Muslims. There was the Hans. They are kind of a tribe. They are melted in the Chinese community. They speak the same language. They have a good relation and contact with the authoritarian and politician there. And they mount or they captured the high position in the government and even the business. At the contrary, the Uyghur. The Uyghur are the tribe of the Xinjiang who are gonna be or who are persecuted. They faced a lot of persecution and oppression. They didn't have the right. They didn't have the right even to express that they are Muslims. So they try to react toward such sanctions and toward such persecution and oppression like that. They are trying to say that we are existent, we have a rights. That's all.
And it's very interesting because China does restrict the freedom of religion. I remember on my visit to China, I remember that in the mosque you can never see any young people. And then I found out that young kids aren't allowed in the mosque.
Yeah.
You have to be a certain age to go to the mosque. And there's all these sort of little minor restrictions that lead to a sort of war against religion or war against Islam in this particular case. And they know where to aim for because they aim at the youth. They change the youth because the youth will grow up and they're already disengaged from that tradition, from that culture. And now that they're being pushed far away from that culture, they don't want to be part of that culture.
Yeah.
They don't want to be a part of that culture after seeing what the media portrays that culture to be. Yeah. So Ala, this is the question I want to ask you. I want to ask you, from a Chinese person's eyes, what's the issue here? What does he see wrong?
Okay. China have around 59 minorities. Okay. And China saying that all of these minorities is the same, and then there is no differences between all of these 59 groups. China saying that anyone can believe in God and anyone can't believe in God. It's allowed for anyone. Now what am I telling now is what is the China saying, not me saying, not from the Muslims' point of view, not from any one point of view.
This is China's thoughts.
Yes, and inside the parliament, every member have the commitment with the Marcus and the Lenin rules. Everyone have to respect the rules of Marcus and Lenin.
Yeah.
And this is a part of the communistic China.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are a big separate between the religious and the education and the politics. We can't gather all of them. But we have here as a Muslims, we have a big problem now. We are in the Islam. We are representing or using the politics according to the Islam rules.
Yeah.
Islam is advising us to tell the truth. Islam is asking us to respect the context. But what's happening in China? They put the politics very far from any religious or any rules of any religions. I don't know what will happen in the coming days, but I hope that China, which we know about it, with the freedom, with a good trade, all of us is going to China to take some goods, and its goods is in all of the world, in Africa and in Asia and in the USA, everywhere. I hope that they are looking for the another religions, and they stop the violence against the small Muslims, a small percentage of the Muslims there.
Okay, and just to wrap up this episode, what I want to ask both of you guys, just your thoughts on what can we do as individuals around the world to raise awareness of the oppression that's going on against our brothers and sisters in China, or against any minorities around the world. What are some things that we can do to raise some sort of awareness? Whichever one of you want to start.
No, I think for me, first of all, the first thing that all of us should think about and focus on is dua, because our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ insisted on that and said that when they getting back from the battle of Tabuk, he said that your brother in the Medina, their dua are most effective than your sword in the battle. So first of all, the dua. Secondly, we can speak about the global awareness and to speak more and more and try to prevail what's happening there. Third of that, we should press on our regimes and our authorities, trying to make a global call for the United Nations to send an envoy there to inspect the situation and to keep in touch on what's happening there, trying to reveal what's happening there. It's not only that, but also giving them the aids, helping them to adopt another nationalities if they would like to, housing them in the camps and whatever the destination they try to refuge or to try to escape to. And after all of that, a call for the Muslim organizations and the NGOs help in working with each other, trying to helping them with money, or helping them with raising the voice about these minorities, these afflicted minorities. Okay. So that's all.
All right, Ala, if I can come to you and your thoughts on this.
From my own point of view, I just have 2 points.
Sure.
The first one, how many of the Muslims which visited China for trade? There are thousands of the Muslims. They went there for trade and making business. Have anyone asked what is the situation of the Muslim in this place? Have anyone while he's praying in the masjid ask any Muslim what's happening to you? We only look for ourselves. We are very selfish. When you go to China, just asking about your brothers in Islam. When you go to China, just ask what's happening there and what is the history of Islam. No country in the world, no place, no region in this world don't have the touch of Islam. So everyone have to ask about them. If you don't have the opportunity to go there, or you don't have any money to go there, while you are checking your Facebook or while you are checking your mail, just asking what about the minorities, the Muslim minorities. Just to give for yourself only 15 minutes every day to read about the history of the Muslims, to read about Turkestan, to read about Uzbekistan, to read about Kazakhstan, to read about what's happening in Russia, to read about what's happening in Palestine. This is only my request for my brothers in Islam in all over the world. Our Prophet Muhammad advised all of us to ask about us, to ask about brothers in Islam. And there are no differences between the Muslims. All of us is the same. There are no differences between the Arabian and the Ajami. Okay? So this is only my demands from my brothers. That's all.
That's all. Okay, and now one thing that you mentioned is nobody asks about these people, nobody asks about them. Why do you think that is? Why do you think, for example, imams don't mention what's going on in their khutbahs? Why do you think that leaders of Muslim countries, Muslim organizations, even smaller organizations don't mention these people, don't speak about it, don't raise awareness? Why do you think that is?
So for me, of course, there were a lot of intervention internationally, like the Turkish regime. They had a lot of effort to go there, and they had a lot of pressure on the Chinese government. Also, the U.S. Government, they exerted a lot of effort on the Chinese, but the China regime, they didn't want anyone to get intervened, or they don't want anyone to say anything about the internal situation. However, those politicians, the Ahmed Dawood Oghlu said that we respect the sovereignty and the sovereignty and the control and the monitoring of the Chinese regime upon their land. But however, we would like you to give some product, to give some liberation to those Muslims that persecuted there, to get such a little bit about their right to live there. So the problem is upon the Chinese regime. So for me, I think any improvement significantly depend on the Chinese regime. How could they accommodate the rise of the Islamic identity for the Muslim there, and how could they improve the life standard for the Muslims there? So for me, it's all about the Chinese regime. And regarding to the Muslim imam and the Muslim scholars, you know, akhi, I know that there is a kind of ignorance regarding to this minority, but it's all up to us. It's all up to the Muslim nation. We should work together, trying to, as I've told you, to increase and increase the awareness about this. Thank you.
Ala, your thoughts on this?
What?
Your thoughts on why people are not raising awareness? I mean,
Yes.
Muhammad Salah gave us a wonderful overview. I just wanted to get some of your thoughts on this since we have a few more minutes. So.
Every time Muhammad is wonderful.
Thank you.
Just from my own point of view, that the imams maybe is interested only in wudu and what is the meaning of Islam. But maybe they didn't learn, or they forgot that the Islam is very interested of our politics and our brothers from everywhere in the world. Because maybe all of us is thinking that Islam is only in Egypt, Islam is only in Jordan, Islam is only in Sudan. No, Islam is everywhere in the world, and we have to ask about our brothers in Islam. I hope that we did something now. I hope that we are now in this channel, we are advising our imams to make dua for our brothers in Turkestan. I hope that from here we are starting to shout and say there are Muslims everywhere. That's all.
That's all, inshallah. Okay, dear viewers, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that inshallah we will continue speaking about different areas, especially where Muslims live around the world and where it's not known that Muslims exist there. Just like we did today about this episode, maybe suggestions that you guys can give us via Facebook, online, contact us in any way, and let us know what countries you would like to hear about. And Mr. Muhammad Salah and Mr. Muhammad Ala are wonderful in terms of history and in terms of what's going on currently in those areas. So they will be willing to provide you with information, inshallah. Just to recap for the viewers, so maybe they can check on YouTube for the previous episodes you've done. You guys did other areas as well. I wasn't here, but I'm sure you did it with Junaid or Ali. Can you tell us about some of the areas you've done?
We have done 2 episodes. The first one was about CAR, Central African Republic, and the second one was about Burma and Myanmar. And now we talk about Turkestan or Xinjiang. And I will not say what is coming.
It's a surprise.
It's a surprise.
You're gonna have to tune in next time to find out what we will speak about. But I mean, this segment is very interesting because within half an hour you learn so much about an area that you didn't even know existed. So I mean, this episode, I enjoyed it personally very much. I mean, I learned so many new things. I'm sure the viewers enjoyed it, and I'm sure inshallah we will continue enjoying it. So this wraps up our episode, and I want to thank both of you for coming on here and giving us wonderful insights about our Muslim brothers and sisters around the world. And once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you, my brother.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed our episode here for Hudda tonight. This will be it for the rest of the night. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and until next time, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.